there are lots of things that are hard about life, but there are also tons and tons of delicious things. I mean, just it doesn't take much. There's tons. So
Yeah.
go back to your childhood, you'll find it. Just walk outside and look around. There's tons of things. Then you got to figure, well, how am I going to make money? What is it I'm going to do? Good question. We'll sort through all that. It's a
Yeah.
process.
It
It'll
is a
take time.
process.
But first, my first step with people is find stuff that you're fascinated by, or that brings you joy, or that really gives you energy, because that's going to give you the motivation to move forward.
Right. Life doesn't always turn out the way we want it to. Millions of people get seriously injured or ill every year, putting their lives on halt. This may cause some of you to lose your jobs, your health, and more importantly, your sense of purpose. I believe that no matter how hopeless and helpless you might feel right now, God still has a purpose for you. This show was created to help you find that purpose, to inspire you to not give up, and to find ways to find fulfillment and make your life meaningful. It does not matter how dim your past or present looks like. As long as you are breathing, you can always find a way to say, "My future is alive." Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Christine Waters, and I hope you enjoy this show. Our guest for this episode is my friend and co-writer, Mr. Fox Vernon. We've written songs together for the last couple of years, and I've enjoyed working with him. Some of them are released under the band name This Dream. He's also the other half of a band called Jeans TV and plays in the local communities of Alexandria, Delray, and Old Town, Virginia. I love what he says in his bio. He says, "Through music, I can see more clearly and explore more deeply the trajectories of life, which are not always what we expect. Music gives me a vantage point for facing the battles, entering the chaos, and seeing the beauty in a world that can sometimes be painfully mundane. Music is a place where I can keep time without losing time, never missing a beat." Aside from being a phenomenal musician and songwriter, he's also a psychotherapist. He has 15 years under his belt in this field. In 2010, he opened his psychotherapy practice in Old Town, Alexandria, Virginia. With training at the doctorate level as a counseling psychologist, he practices as a licensed clinical psychologist, offering individual couples and group therapy to adults wanting more from life. So, without further ado, let's welcome Fox Vernon. Well, welcome, Fox. Thanks so much for giving me time today.
Sure.
So, in this podcast, we talk about folks that have major injuries and have had to either stop working completely or switch careers. And you have a history of switching back and forth between music and psychotherapy. So, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your story and how those careers have influenced you and what made you what influenced your choices with those?
Well, I always loved music and started as a drummer. Took some piano too when I was growing up, and my friends and my brother played guitar, so I kind of learned a little bit of guitar. And I was doing music pretty seriously, but I was also a good student and in high school. And then I just decided I wasn't going to go study music because it was too limiting. I had this sense of, I don't know, it was like a sort of a ballerina or a dancer going to this place, and all they do is dance. So music would be just music, music, music.
Yeah.
And I was around tons of classical musicians because that's what an orchestral percussionist hangs out with. And it was hooty tooty, hoity toity. So I decided to go to college with it and not do music. So I went out to California to Stanford and studied sociology. But while I was there, I did a lot of music to keep sane. I played guitar every day for like an hour and really learned how to play guitar from a bunch of friends out there who played too. I was in their concert band for a while, but it wasn't any good, so I just stopped doing that. But I was in a couple bands. So I'd been in some bands in high school, but I was in one band as a guitarist, which is the first time I'd ever done that. And I was in another band as a drummer and enjoyed that. So I did a fair bit of music in college on the side, but never as a career thing. Got out of college, moved to Chicago, was with some good friends, lots of them musicians, started a band again on the side while I was a community organizer because I was going to save the world. And did that for a few years and realized I could become a community organizer anytime. I ought to do something else I can't do anytime, and that might be like music. So I started to take music classes and theory classes at night, and then I got more serious about writing songs, and actually me and another friend started a music co-op, basically of songwriters all writing and sharing songs and stuff. Did that for a while. My brother had gone out to LA to do music, so I decided I'm going to go out to LA and join him, convince my high school buddies to join us. We went out to LA. I got a day job and working for the LA County Department of Mental Health, really based on being a community organizer in Chicago because LA County was dealing with the civil unrest and they were hiring community organizers basically. But that was a sort of an introduction to mental health, at least the bureaucracy of it. And then I realized I was not going to be famous as a musician. I wasn't trying that hard to be famous, and I sort of looked at other famous people and realized I don't really want to do that quite. That's not really my interest. I mean, it'd be cool if I got famous. That'd be great, but I don't want to work hard at it and slave at it. I'm just either too lazy or I'm not driven. I'm not sure. So I decided to go back to grad school, and psychology was something I'd always been interested in. I took psych courses in undergrad. Really decided on sociology because it concentrated more on writing, and I wanted to learn to write. And all my psych courses were multiple choice exams. I hated those. Like what? So I got into grad school to study psychotherapy, basically counseling psychology. Got out of that, went into academia because I'd always been sort of interested in academia. Went to academia, taught at Rutgers for a while, all the time doing music a little bit here and there on the side and being in bands. And then finally decided, hey, I don't want to do this academic track. Actually, I got out of that, moved to DC with my wife, and she said to me, "You got to quit this Rutgers thing. You're not happy being a professor." So I'm like, okay, quit that. Got into non-traditional education and chaired a counseling psych program for an online university, Capella, and did that maybe for 5 years. And then I realized I want to be a therapist. I don't want to be a bureaucrat in this online school. I was working with a lot of great administrators, but the program in general was too much business oriented to try to make money and bring in students, and it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Okay, yeah.
So all the while I was taking jazz, guitar, and learning how to read music, and so always studying music, always fascinated by it. Then I started my private practice. Maybe this is 2012, and that allowed me just a lot more flexibility. I already had a fair bit of flexibility, but basically started my private practice as a psychotherapist, seeing clients one-on-one, seeing couples, and also running groups. And then I could do much more music. And so I started to do even more music and just started doing more music. That's when I met you, did the, what's Kathy Heller? Is that her last name? Is that right?
Yes.
Did the sync course, whatever that thing was called. And love that. And so I'm still doing it. I've got my band now. We're cranking out basically a song every couple months. We write and record, and I'm very interested in film scoring, but I'm less interested in trying to make it than I used to be. So maybe that'll change, but I just trying to make it in terms of music means working too hard to make money, and I can make good money doing psychotherapy. I enjoy it. So I'll probably keep it that way for a while. So that's the long of it.
No, it's an interesting story because some people get frustrated that they haven't figured out what to do for the rest of their lives. But sometimes it's a process like that. You kind of have to try different things, and if it doesn't work out or you're not happy with it, the experience is good, and then it leads you towards maybe a better thing, right? So it's kind of a redirection of sorts.
So I've done tons of redirects, and I always wanted to do that. I mean, even the way I went to college was a redirect from music, or I wanted to not just do music, and I wanted to really get strong academia. Then I came out, wanted to be a community organizer, though it took me a while to fish around and find that out. Then I did music, then I did administrative. So But for me, money was never hugely important. I mean, I
Hmm.
needed to make money to live, and I think, um, and in some ways, I kind of poo-pooed money, so I think I didn't do myself a favor. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess, but I think it's hard. I mean, so some people kind of get locked in a job that pays them good money, and then the problem is the golden handcuffs. Like, how do I let go of this
Right.
high-paying job? Um, and I think that can be tough too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really believe in kind of fishing around and looking around and trying to make or weave together um, careers and our hobbies and stuff we do that we love to do.
Yeah. And you've certainly like found a way to marry both passions and do
Yes,
both at the same time, which is really great.
done. I feel like I found the things I love to do. I love doing psychotherapy.
Hmm.
Not always perfect. It's not like every day is great, but I do love doing it.
Yeah.
I love doing music. Again, that's not always great. Sometimes I want to pull my hair out, or I feel like I'm a big idiot, or I'm just, so it's not like this solves all those
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
And then I love birding too. I don't, I love to, so I'm a
That's
big
cool.
birder. Those three things I feel like I've got it made. Though my wife and I have started to do some hiking, which fits
Hmm.
well with birding,
Right.
and I'm really enjoying that. So I have searched hard to find things I really like to do, and many of them have worked out.
Yeah. That's cool. And so you deal with different kinds of patients. And have you had any experience for? So sometimes people have to change careers either from a major physical injury or from a mental breakdown of some sorts. Either switch or just stop working completely or temporarily. Have you had any experience with them?
Yeah, yes, I've had both experiences with people. I wouldn't call them mental breakdowns. I would call it more like running into the brick wall of either burnout or
Hmm.
I don't like what I'm doing. So I would call it an existential crisis.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, people can have mental breakdowns. That's a little different. And certainly, if you're burned out and you keep doing that, you will sooner or later crash and
Right.
have, you know, what used to be called a nervous breakdown. Um, but I mean, if you have high anxiety and high depression, chances are you're not enjoying what you're doing. So I've had plenty of that with clients,
Hmm.
um, and I love trying to help people find their dreams. That's usually my path with people. I don't think that's the only path.
Right.
I don't think everybody wants to chase their dreams quite the way I would. So, but that's the way I like to work with people and what I like to awaken in them. And then
Hmm.
I've had one good friend who's had a traumatic brain injury. It wasn't a severe one; it was a mild one,
Uh-huh.
and it's really changed her life. And I think that happened 2.5 years ago. So just being around her, she's also a psychotherapist,
Hmm.
and watching how she struggled and what she can do and what she can't, and it's confusing because you sort of I look at her and hear her talk, and she seems all normal,
Right.
but there's just certain things she can't do, but those are invisible. It's not a visible handicap, so to speak, or disability, so it's
Right.
can be confusing. I guess there's advantages and disadvantages, and then I've actually had two clients that have had serious physical disabilities. One had a tumor and had to have it removed, and that really basically scrambled their brain. And so
Wow.
then they kind of it changed their personality, they lost confidence.
Hmm.
And they came to me after they had sort of gained their foothold after like 3 or 4 years,
Hmm.
but wanted to gain confidence. And then another person who had a congenital problem throughout life, a degenerative disease, and was struggling with what she wanted to do in life. She had a successful job, but just struggling with some big transition, especially in her relationship with her husband that was falling apart. So yes, I have had clients in various ways dealing with that.
And how do you think it's affected them mentally? Like, how would you describe what they're going through?
I guess for everybody, it's going to be different in all sorts of ways. So I don't want to pretend like, and I'm not an expert in this area either, but I mean, it seems to become part of who we are. Certainly how we can function in life and what we can and can't do is huge. I mean,
Hmm.
it's little things like, sprain an ankle or, get a zit on your face suddenly, I mean, and those are minor, can
Right.
really have profound impacts. So if you lose your ability to do your current work or you can't think straight, I mean, the way it affects confidence, our self-image, and then having to rebuild that,
Hmm.
know ourselves. So our identities are so wrapped up in what we do and how well we do it and what our jobs are,
Right.
perhaps understandably, that it can be crushing. It's very hard to rebuild one. I've seen, at least as I've seen, it's hard to rebuild oneself and establish some confidence and strength and move forward.
Right. So
It's also
how?
hard to
So go
kind of
ahead.
get a vision. Like when you get into despair or burnout, it's hard to see opportunity or hope. So
Hmm.
everywhere you look is just like, well, that won't work out, or so
Right.
it's tough. And I think people really need a community of support around them, us, and maybe our spiritual paths to move through this kind of stuff.
Right. Do you think it's okay for sometime, especially when on the first impact or the first? It depends on the person. Sometimes it may take a few weeks, a few months, a couple years, like you said, the one with the brain.
Yeah, he had a brain tumor and then surgery to remove it.
Do you think for someone like that, it's okay for them to take the time and like, okay, let's not try to figure out things yet. Let me just rest for a bit, for a while.
I think you got to. I mean, I don't think this person had a choice. They were not they needed their spouse to take care of them.
Hmm.
Um, I think they could do certain things, but yeah. So I do think it's good to rest and to take a step back. I think that's hard to figure out on your own. It's really good to have people around you that can see that and sort of know you and love you and sort of be able to say, "Hey, Fox, we don't know what's going to happen." There also needs to be grief. I think often you're
Yeah.
going to have to mourn and hurt around you're not the same, and maybe you won't be the same, or maybe you will
Hmm.
be the same, but you don't know, or maybe you will be the same, but it's going to be a while.
Right.
And that's tough, man, to sit. So you got to sit with the grieving and all the anger and frustration. And I think that needs a place to be. And you need to
Right.
share that with people, and it needs to be okay, because when that goes sideways, it's not pretty, and you can really wreck relationships. You can wreck yourself.
Yeah.
We dive into drugs and all sorts of things to try to deal with those kind of internal rage and depression. So
Right.
yeah, I think some time at first is really important. How much time, it varies, and I think we aren't the best judge of it. We need to be a judge of it. If I'm the one trying to figure it out, but I need others I can talk to also.
Right. Like someone like you, or like you said,
Someone like
friends and
me,
family.
family members, really good friends,
Yeah.
and that can be hard too because sometimes friends don't know what to do. I mean,
Yeah.
just think when you have a big death, sometimes people don't know how to be with you.
Right. Or
You,
even
the
say
world,
what to say.
yeah, yeah, what to say, or when is it time to move forward, and when is it time to just be in that sadness and the hurt of it all.
Yeah. So for like family members or friends, probably the best thing to do is just listen at that point, right?
Well,
Be
listening's always great.
yeah.
Listening's great.
If you don't know what to say,
Uh,
just at least listen.
yeah, I mean, you can always ask how to be of help. You can also always say, "I don't know how to help. I want to help. I'm hurting
Right.
too. I'm feeling for you. I want to be there for you. What can I do?" And I think sometimes it's good you know, to poke other people, like, Fox, you need to get moving. But if you're doing
Yeah.
that first and that's the only thing you're doing, then it can also be easy to kind of wish things away, pressure people, and that's no good either.
Right.
An
Yeah.
arm needs the time it needs to heal.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason it's tricky. Everyone's got feelings about it. It's not just you, but
Hmm.
people who love you around you are going to be scared too. Like, wow, what's Fox going to do now? Is he all right? Have you talked
Right.
to him? Is he able to talk about it? It's like, I mean, so actually, in some ways, you as the person who's suffered can also help other people figure it out. But
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Because so I remember when I was really like still new in the what I was feelings and all these anxiety that was overtaking because of the
uh-huh,
concussion I had. My friend
yeah,
came and visited me, and I couldn't even have a conversation. So all she did for me, which was a big help at this time, was just she just held my hand for a little bit for a while.
so you couldn't even speak, you mean, and talk and have a conversation? You
Yeah,
mean
I
literally you couldn't
couldn't.
talk?
I
Wow. So
well, I could talk, but it wasn't like it was too much work to try and have a conversation for my brain. And even just listening to somebody talk, I couldn't do it. So she just held my hand for a while, and that gave me comfort. And
Right.
then also helped me make dinner for me,
Right.
And we didn't have to talk. She just had to be there for a little bit, which
Yeah. Well,
was a
that's.
great
I
help.
mean, yeah. That sounds like you really had somebody who loved you and could be with you and hold you. That's huge.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So for someone who's lost their confidence, like your patient, how would you help someone like that regain their confidence, or redirect their lives if they have to?
Well, it all depends. Everyone's so different. To me, it's like saying, well, what book would you recommend? I mean, or TV show. It's sort of like this TV show for this person, that TV show for that person. Because
That's
so
true.
I do believe you really got to find something that clicks with that person. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm not the best therapist for everyone. For somebody, I'm an awful therapist.
Hmm.
So maybe part of it's making sure the client's with somebody that's, usually if they've come to me, they've read a little bit about me and they got a sense. I think I might. So people usually come in that way. But
Hmm.
so I do think things need to be tailored for that person, and the motivation's got to come from within. And that's why it's so important to figure out who is this individual, what do they need. Usually, at some point in our life, we have been motivated, we have been excited, we have been in love with something. Something has moved us. So I'm constantly searching for whatever that is,
Yeah.
and I'll tell people like that's what we're searching for. Whatever you're excited about, and maybe I'll just ask it directly. What does interest you? Sometimes it's well, you ask what. So what helps people get back their confidence? They get back their confidence when they find things they love.
Hmm.
So um,
You were saying how earlier help people find what they're excited about, but like sometimes when you're in this state, you're like, I've been doing this for 10 years and all of a sudden I can't do it. I don't know what else I can be excited about. Do you have any
yeah,
questions that you ask them to help them realize what does excite them or whatever passions they have?
sure. I mean, first of all, I think that's a natural stage of it. Like, there's nothing, if you've been doing something for a long time that's been your thing, and then you no longer can do it, you're going to have to go through the grieving and the anger and the confusion about it. So you got to let some of that happen. And I don't know that you can figure out what's next always when you're in that. So some of it's you just got to let that happen. I do think you can always be just opening up your eyes to possibilities. So I just look for ways to help clients brainstorm this. So what I'll do with clients is say, I just want you to be open to this and start thinking about it. You don't have to figure it out now, but
Hmm.
start wondering, start noticing if memories come up or things or little things you're excited about or you notice in life, and just maybe write them down. But I want you just letting those up. Don't don't kick the daydreams away because they're silly. Just if you're having a memory as a kid and you're playing with a fire truck and how much you loved it, I want you to remember that and I want you to bring it in here and us be with it. I don't know what it all means, but my experience with working with people, and I'll tell clients this, my experience working with people is if they find those things that kind of, what is that thing recent, Spark Joy, what was the organizing show? I forget what it was. It was maybe
Oh,
Netflix or something. If you find those things that spark joy, that give you a little excitement, those usually are meaningful in some way. Even if you start, like maybe you start with a fire truck you love, but you realize really it's toys or it was driving. I don't know, but it's
hmm.
the reason, or it's the color red, and then it could be lots of things, but that is probably going to speak to you, and it's a bunch of things like that. And sooner or later, you're going to find all of us have tons of things we're interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just human nature. So once you're fairly on the way to being healed and more of a stable place, and you have some of your confidence back. I mean, if you look at, there are lots of things that are hard about life, but there are also tons and tons of delicious things. I mean, it doesn't take much. There's tons. So
Yeah.
go back to your childhood, you'll find it. Just walk outside and look around. There's tons of things. Then you got to figure, well, how am I going to make money? What is it I'm going to do? Good question. We'll sort through all that. It's a
Yeah.
process.
It
It'll
is a
take time.
process.
But first, my first step with people is find stuff that you're fascinated by, or that brings you joy, or
Hmm.
that really gives you energy, because that's going to give you the motivation to move forward.
Right. Find the delicious things in life
Yes, find the delicious things in life and taste them.
and taste them. Yeah. So, do you have any words of encouragement for maybe somebody that's listening right now that's, like we said earlier, has had to abruptly stop working or?
I guess one, I just say my heart goes out to you. Frankly, I think all of us as human beings face this because I don't think any of us get in life and just it's easy sailing. Even if for those that it is, their life comes crashing down at some point. Being a therapist, I watch it all the time. Like people come into me and think they're the only ones crazy. Like you're not. I'm crazy too. I've seen everyone else, or many. I haven't seen everyone, but we're all crazy. So
Yeah.
the world comes tumbling down on all of us, maybe in different ways and lots of times. What I would say to anyone is like you can do it. You can do it. Many have done it. You can do it. It's going to be hard, perhaps, though parts of it will be easy, but you can do it. It's not going to feel like you can do it always. That's really what's hardest to get through. It doesn't feel like I can do it, but
Right.
even if it feels hard or strange or impossible, that doesn't mean it is impossible. So it's doable. There have been plenty of people who've done it well. Of course, there's been plenty of people that haven't. It's like if you want to get in that category that did it well,
Yeah. Find
and
the
that's really not.
inspiration.
It's not really about your talent, I don't think, and it's just about actually loving yourself as a person and loving what you're doing. And whatever helps you do that, you also find the people because I think those are huge. You'll start to click with those people, and of course, you want to be drawing good people around you.
Mhm.
I think that's always huge. So those are my words of encouragement.
Thank you. What do you have going on right now, or do you have any upcoming projects musically?
Yeah, always have upcoming projects. One cool thing I'm doing in my practice is running a art therapy group,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been a lot of fun. I'm not trained as an art therapist, but I'm always looking for ways to integrate music and creativity in what I do. And so I get a fair number of people that are artists coming through in different ways. So it's fun to do this art therapy project and learn more about art because I'm learning tons that I didn't know. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then my band, Gene's TV, is constant. We're constantly writing and are recording. So we found a great producer, a guy named Jay Smith, who's local here. I'm in the DC metro area. I live in Northern Virginia, and now we have a vision of creating this community of us all around here. I mean, we're more than happy to include people like you, Christine, coming from other places too. But around here, we found Jay. My band Gene's TV is a collaboration between me and my fellow songwriter Dallas Hudgens, and so we found Jay, and he's really been helping us put together. So we've done one song and released it maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now we're working on another tune, and we're in the middle of getting that done. In fact, I got to work on drum parts now, and I getting back to being a drummer. That's another fun thing. In this project, I've been playing guitar mostly past 20, 30 years. I do some keyboards too, but not a lot. But now I got my electric drum set, and I finally got it up, and I can use it, and I'm having a blast. Like think of things that are delicious. Like playing drums is fun. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes it also is work. So I got to get to that. I got
Yeah.
to get to that drum part and write it, and it's in MIDI, and I got to figure out the MIDI. But those are some projects I'm working on.
Nice. So, if people want to get a hold of you for your therapy practice, where can they reach you?
Yeah, for either it's pretty easy. I mean, certainly they can contact you and get my info, and you feel free to give my info out to anybody who contacts you that you trust, and I trust you. But it's just my website for my practice is just my name.com. So it's Fox Vernon, Fox, V as in victory, ERNON.com. And that leads you to my practice. And from there, you can reach me at my email, which is just my name, fox@foxvernon.com. And my music site is foxvernonmusic.com. So those are two ways to get to me, unless they want to go straight to you, which is also just fine.
Okay. Well, Fox, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Fox Vernon. I certainly did. We do have 3 takeaways based on that conversation. Number 1, allow yourself to go through the grieving process with the help of those around you. Number 2, find every little thing that excites you and don't suppress them. And number 3, find the delicious things in life and taste them. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and give us a review. And if you want any free music from me, just go to christinewaters.com/free. That said, let me leave you with one of my songs that belong to my soon-to-be-released EP. The EP will be called My Future Is Alive, and this song is called Turn Your Light On. Until next time, God bless. When all the lights and all the sounds make me crumble in fear, when every step in every test makes me stumble